Welcome to Cooking to Get You Laid. I'm Crybaby Cowboy, and this week we're making fried rice. Fried rice is seductive because you can eat it. Fried rice is also seductive because you can use old rice from the night before, which is thrifty and alluring, which is how you can be sensual to someone, and it's also tasty. First things first, you're going to have some rice. Either you've got some left over or you're going to make it like us. We're going to use 1 cup of rice and 1.5 cups of water to cook the rice. You want to add in a pinch of salt, whack it into a pot, cover it and put it on to boil. It'll probably boil over if you put a lid on. The meat we're going to be using is speck. You can use like any pork meat with a good bit of fat on it to get the flavour. If you're using any kind of raw meat such as chicken as well, make sure it's cut into very thin pieces so it cooks quickly. We've diced the speck, about 200 grams of it. Put your pan onto a heat, whack an egg in as it's coming up to heat with some rice bran oil is what we've used. You want to beat it in the pan and make a very quick omelette. You can keep an eye on your rice. Ours started to boil over, so make sure it doesn't do that too badly. Then you can get your egg out of the pan and put it to one side. We've chopped it into pieces and you can add it back in later. Wipe out your pan and you can add your meat now. We should have done it before we did the egg, but we got the pan up to a very hot heat, added some rice bran oil in again, which is good for cooking at a high heat, and then put the egg in. It should bubble straight away, and then you can really quickly stir it and it'll end up as a scrambled egg. And then you can put meat in. If it's raw, it'll cook quickly, but this speck needs to have the fat render out, and that doesn't happen at high heats or very well in a small amount of time. We stuffed it, to be honest. While that's sitting there, your rice should still be cooking. It started to boil over again for us, so we dropped the heat down even more. Then you want to chop up the thicker part of your spring onion, like the white bit, not the roots, get rid of them, but the bit that is kind of too oniony, and it can cook in the residual heat of the pan and kind of go sweet. Chop the rest of the thinner stuff up that's green and keep to one side with your egg. Smash some garlic, remove its skin, get rid of the woody bit on the end and roughly chop. Keep to one side. Take about half of a medium carrot. You can use a whole lot if you want, but we just went with half. Cut the sides off and then chop all of the side bits up into small weird looking bits and then dice the rest of the carrot. By now your rice should be done. You don't want to leave it in water. You want to get it out of there as quick as possible to stop it cooking. We're going to rinse it in cold water, and instead of using a sieve we'll just rinse the lid because it was quite hot, and then pour the water out and then add more cold water and rinse and repeat, literally rinse and repeat until you wash off some of the starch and also cool the rice right down. And then that'll also mean the cooler and drier your rice is, the better your fried rice. So make sure you cool it right down and pour out as much water as possible. Chuck your heat back on in your pan, put your garlic in, smash your rice in. You need to cook off a little bit of the moisture if there's any in it. Once that happens, you can add about a tablespoon of soy sauce. This is to taste, add more or less if you would like. About 2 teaspoons of white vinegar, or if you have rice wine vinegar, that's even more good as. And then about a teaspoon of sesame oil. Season with a pinch of salt, and then just like a generous amount of white pepper. We didn't have white pepper, but we've got a pepper that's got like red, white and black in it, and so that's got some white pepper, but any pepper is okay, but white pepper is like better-ish. Then you want to throw in a generous knob of butter. That's not traditional, but then again fried rice probably isn't the most traditional thing, especially when it's made by me. And then you stir it through. That makes it nice and lush. Add about 2/3 of the stuff that you've put to one side into the rice now. You don't necessarily want to cook it because the carrot wants to still be crunchy so that you have texture. And also if you have frozen vegetables that you're using, put them in now to like heat. Once that's done, you can whack it onto a plate, put some of the leftover colourful bits that you kept. In our case it's egg and spring onion, green stuff and the carrot. There, that is fried rice. It's I ate it, Jim. For you were the bugger lugs he was changing batteries. I'm not making more. There, fried rice holds it up. It's delicious. You should try some of this too. It's very tasty, and the way that it is reused, the rice is very thrifty and alluring, which is sensual. Like and subscribe if you want more of this, and until next time, I'm Crybaby Cowboy. Bonza Pet. Hey. I can hold an apple if you want, Jim.